Okay. Good day. I am Fulgen Periol Maglanet, and here I am going to discuss my assigned method in teaching grammar. This discussion or these sessions, we will know or learn about deductive teaching method approach to teaching grammar. So, what is grammar? According to Canale and Swain, 1980, as a component of communicative competence, grammar is one of the essential elements of language learning and teaching. Meaning, this is very applicable to us as an aspiring teacher. The very first component we should have is the communicative competence. Grammar is present when teacher or the students acquire learning as a simplification of the grammar. When we said communicative competence, teachers are going to communicate, to speak, to talk to the students. So this interact with meaning, social functions, or a combinations of this. Now let's talk about this method. Okay. What can you say? What can you get from this picture or slide? Okay. We can simply say that a teacher gives handouts to the students. Then we can now analyze that this method is teacher-centered, meaning the teacher is the one who gives learning to the students, and the students will just have to cooperate to the teacher. Grammar teaching has experienced different teaching contents and approach. Like, the number one example for this is this method, this deductive teaching method. Now, let's give you another example for this method. Okay, in this slide, we can emphasize that a mother helps his son to stand up. We can also say that, or we can scrutinize the concept of helping the child. Why the mother helps his son to stand up? This is the first question in our mind. Why should the mother help his son to stand up? Like those who or who are 7 to 8 months year old. Basically, we can say that the child needs help to his mother because when you see that, when we look at the picture, maybe it's an infant with a couple of men, or it's a year-old child only. Meaning the child cannot stand alone. So the child is incapable of standing alone. That's why he needs a guide from his mother. Okay. Now let's give you another example for this method. Okay, so in this slide, we can say that in school, probably this is in school, right? This is in classroom because we see there is a student, there is a teacher. No? There is a teacher and there is a student. No? Now, what is the work of a teacher? So the work of the teacher is to talk, to speak in front, to explain, to discuss to the students about the topic, about the particular topic. Because that is the role of the teacher. Next is what's the role of the student? The role of the student is to cooperate with the teacher. The role of the student is to listen to the teacher. Then, preferably, we can say that this is an example of a deductive teaching method, because at the first slide we say that deductive teaching method approach in teaching grammar is about more on to teacher-centered, meaning the teacher are the one who will get the target, the one who will speak, the one who will communicate, the one who will explain or discuss. Okay. So what is deductive teaching? Deductive teaching is more on teacher-centered. This is a method that all the teacher are speaking and students are listening. Okay, that's what I have said earlier. The deductive teaching is more on teacher-centered, meaning the teacher are the one who will explain, the one who will speak, the one who will talk, the one who will communicate with them, the one who will interact with them. And that is a deductive teaching. So the student rule is also, we are going to listen to the teacher. Now, as you can see in my previous examples, now let's recall it. First, we have teacher who give handouts to the students. Second, we have a mother who helps his son to stand up. Third, we have a teacher who teaches in front of the student. And that is an example of the deductive teaching method. Now, let's see how this deductive teaching method approach works. Okay, we have this presentation, we have this concept that the first we have rule, the second we have the example, and then the practice. What is the meaning of rule, example, and the practice to the deductive teaching approach or method? Of course, rule is the first example. Why does we have to start with the top and to the bottom? We will explain that later. We have to explain first the rule. Okay, rule means it's the first steps, and reinforced by the example, which is the second step. Okay, bear that in mind that the rule is the first example, and then the first steps the students are going to have. So the deductive teaching method works. So this is how the method works. So first we have the rule, the example, and then the practice. Meaning we have the first step, the rule, and the second we have the example. We reinforce the example, and then second is the practice. Or the third is practice. Meaning students are be able or expected to create their own example after the discussions. Okay, this is how deductive teaching method, or approach work from from top to bottom. Which means that, for example, the teacher are going to discuss, to explain the particular topic, and the teacher are going to give example to the students. The final stage will be the student. The students are going to create their own example from what is the topic all about. Okay. Now, deductive teaching is a traditional approach in which information about target language and rules are driven at the beginning of the class and continued with example. This is what I have explained earlier, that a deductive teaching, the teacher needs to target the students' attention, needs to target the students' thought and ideas. That's why they are going to talk. That's why they're going to speak. That's why they're going to communicate with them. They interact with them because they need the students' information is also from rule and then example. And the last stage, the students are going to give examples. That's why we are driven by rules at first, at the beginning. That is our first steps, and continued with examples. Okay. A deductive approach is based on the top-down theory. That's what I have said, diba? Why does we start at the top? Why not at the bottom? Because according to, let me just remove my screen, okay? According to Black 2003, that a deductive approach is based on the top-down theory, which the presentation and the explanation of grammar rules take the precedence over teaching. Okay, this has been taught from the whole parts so learners understand the grammar rules and structure first. Oh, sorry for that noise. Meaning that the deductive approach is a top-down theory according to Black 2003 because it takes the explanations of grammar rules. It takes the precedence over the teaching. Okay? There is a step in following the deductive approach, and that is the three: the rule, the example, and then the practice. That's why in the grammar rules, it is continued with examples. And it is given by to the students to make their own examples. That's what this mean, no, in this approach. That the teacher and finally they are begin to produce their own examples. Okay? Okay. So in a deductive approach, when the grammar item is presented with meta language such as name of the tense, subject or object, and often use. Okay. We should not focus on the teaching grammar. Okay. We should focus on the approach that we have to use, the method that we have to use. Meaning, if we, grammar is very complex. It's very complex. Some say that okay, a grammar is a system of the structure of English, structure of sentence. Yes, of course, it is a system. It is a structure of the sentence because we cannot complete a sentence without that, and we have to need it. Like, of course, we should have the grammar, even though in different languages. Okay, obviously when we talk about English, we should need it, right? But we shouldn't focus on the English grammar. We shouldn't focus on the grammar that are being presented to. We should focus to our targets. What is our method? What we are going to use? The method that we are going to use to the students. Is it applicable to all or not? But then we have to mind that applying this will depend on the students. Of course, it's based on the students' perception. It will be based on the students because a teacher and a student. Okay, in the classroom we need that teacher and student. Without the teacher, there will be no interaction with the students, and it's also without the student, the teacher who are they going to teach without the students. Okay, it will depend on the students. For example, in contrast with that, if the students are going to speak, and that is not deductive approach, it is on the next approach, it is on the next teaching method to use. Because in deductive teaching, it is a teacher-centered. Only the teacher is going to speak, and the students are going to listen. Okay? The learners are going to listen, and then they have to give example for that. That is the steps. That's why we have the top-down theory according to Black 2003. But then we don't have to discuss if the students are going to speak and what we call about that. It will be on the next teaching method. Okay? So, I think that is the end of my presentation. Yes? Thank you so much for listening. I am Paul for your Maglangit, and have a good day.